Hello boys and girls, today I'm going to show you quick as I can. The NJ20 is roughly speaking, the stock most basic Vox circuit there is, and there's a big lesson in how amazingly, wonderfully perfect it is, and that anything else is really messing up this simple magic perfection. Two 12AX7s, two EL84s, this has a GZ34, one 12-inch G12H. I'm just super happy with this. An amazingly amount of perfect headroom and saturation, clipping distortion when you get dirty. Goes to the floor, jangles lots of overtones. This is a humbucker, not as overtony. I'll try to get real quick at the end here to a single coil to show you much better sparkle. I'll show you some of the more macho bit with the humbucker and show how amazingly hot rod Marshall stacked this thing can be. Is pretty startling. But of course the beauty is the long, open, clear sustain, natural sustain that it has that's just so beautifully open with lots of overtones. So kind of just run over a couple of riffs and then go up and down on the volume. You see how quickly I'm going to go from just below halfway and then start ramping it up. And each one number or two, they're just really amazing how it ramps up into full muy macho distortion. So, and how dead quiet this thing is remarkable how quiet it is. Once you get it way up, when it's got a fair amount of gain going, you have a bit of background hush as you normally do. All I did was add a fat-off-brite to vary how fat or bright this stage is, or cleaner. The cut is running reverse so that all the way up is bright and out of the way, and it gets darker and invokes it more and more as you roll it down. When you're lower, you tend to want a little more, and then as you get driven, you want to get it out of the way more so it clears it up. But anyways, we'll kind of go. Now, fat-off-brite, I'm starting in the dullest open. I would generally say even at this low, you would tend to use the normal mode, which is the fat mode. Most martially when you're driven up there. Still tuned here. Just these ringing harmonics are just out of this world. that nothing else does. Even a simple Tweed Deluxe has more drive and push that doesn't leave it as open as this does. That's why this one doesn't get quite as Neil Young compressive when you get all the way to the bottom. But it's just amazing. I've made versions of this from there. This came originally from my Vibratrem 20, 98% similar, and then the clean channel on my Supreme 16. Once I started doing those more commonly with the 12AX7 instead of the EF86, is also basically this circuit, depending on whether you have the tone knob or the fat-brite switch. With the fat-brite switch, it's really the same as this, but you don't get, it's not the same as this fat-off-brite. It's just leaning it or fattening it. This is changing the gain stage and the frequencies of the gain of the first gain stage. But 112, 2EL84, this same phase inverter output section I've done before. This one just came out magically, especially good and different to me than even the same circuit I've roughly done before. That, like I said, pretty much is the exact same thing. But so even a tone knob, though, in a sense, degrades what this thing is doing with, and you get maximum overtones with no tone knob. That's part of the original Vox arrangement, is they didn't do any preamp tone knob like Fender did, say, on a Tweed Deluxe, a typical, very common tone knob that's latched onto the volume in the preamp. That woes down some of the upper end. It also allows you to accentuate the upper end more, where this always has a sweeter, softer high end. Even when you get the cut all the way out, you are still very warm in the upper end. There's one bypass cap that's trying to clear up the upper end in this, and that's the balance of how much overall low end is in it, which is more than the old versions I've done. Definitely more fullness to the bottom, and that's part of the warmth and overall goodness of this, is that it's fuller in the mid to lower end, and it's using some of its headroom ability to fulfill that and produce that low end. That makes it more rounded in spectrum top to bottom, much richer, and that's part of what's much better about this, along with the clarity of the efficient G12H to articulate it. So the cleans, when clean, are really articulate, which is the twin brother of a Vox Blue, which similarly is very quick and accurate and allows good cleanness even when it's in a very warm environment. I found some new tubes I liked in this that for now I'm going to keep a secret, that are amazingly, and it all just really worked really well right out of the gate. Proper voltages, everything. Super happy with it, but I could go on and on about why this is, honestly, to me, like the tone. When it gets saturated, it's not over cluttered. It hasn't had its spectrum tweaked really in any way, like a tone knob, let alone an EQ. No second gain stage to scrunch it, and that's why it just is so open and lets it ring in a very more open way than normal, and then has an unusual amount of dirt for such a simple one gain stage preamp, and that's because the EL84s are so sensitive and so easy to distort. This is all they need, and that's why, in a way, a top boost is too much. It doesn't really need it. Now, if you want to set it into, well, if you crank it up, you heard it. I mean, this thing will rip and tear if you just crank it up and then do it all on your guitar, theoretically, even with no pedals or nothing else whatsoever. But it's just amazing. Like I said, you do have to put up with the 15-ish wattage, maybe 20, 15, 20, somewhere in there kind of output. So there's some loudness when it is up into the fully hot rockin' mode. That's really the only downside. I theoretically could have put a power section post, I should say, phase inverter master on it, but to me it would stifle it and it wouldn't sound as good. This is one I was letting to stay pure, exactly how it is. And I'm very thankful. Like I say, it came out really, really well. I wish I could spend more time showing you these. It's truly the sparkle in the upper end while being mellow, not being forced, not being crammed. That's why it doesn't get up and wail and scream, but it holds and finally gets that angelic harmonic get up and sing after a big, long, open, clear sustain, which to me sounds like what I've heard in very big league studios when you solo really big league records. You get this rich, warm, full spectrum sound that, like even when played clean and delicately, provides this warm, full, long sustaining sound, which is rich, laying in the tracks with things going over that openness as it sustains there. So I'll leave it at that. It's an amazing baby. I recommend it to other people, especially studio work. I think it's absolutely out of this world. And worked with all my guitars just really, really well. The Jazzmaster is amazing. And I think you'd like it too. That's it. Have a great day, boys and girls.